did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned. Well, certainly she should have known not to send classified information. As I said, that's the definition of negligent. I think she was extremely careless. I think she was negligent. That I could establish. What we can't establish is that she acted with the necessary criminal intent.
FBI Director James Comey up on the Hill today defending his decision not to recommend prosecution for Hillary Clinton. But we did learn a lot in these exchanges. Let's bring in our panel. Editor-in-Chief of LifeZette, Laura Ingraham. Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Laura.
There are so many stunning things that came out today. That exchange was one of the best, without a doubt. Trey Gowdy, just the simple questions. Did she tell the truth or not? She didn't. She lied on multiple occasions. The other stunning thing that came out, I thought, which was very damning for Comey's credibility, is that in a case this important, with a Secretary of State being interviewed on a Saturday during a holiday weekend, he didn't think it was important enough to show up for the questioning, and he wasn't in a position to discuss the interview with all of the agents who were present. You don't send in, lower-level people to interview the Secretary of State. This is a job for the FBI director, or at least to be present in the room to look at body language, look at, movements. I mean, I was a white-collar criminal defense attorney years ago, and I mean, I don't think like low-level associates at law firms would get away, frankly, with the incompetence, at the very least, incompetence of how Comey seems to come off in the way he's describing this and the way he's laying out this case. It is shocking, and I tweeted this the other day. I think justice died a little bit the other day.
Mara, one of the things the Clinton campaign is pointing to is the Petraeus explanation. All the talk that this General Petraeus, what he did was nothing compared to what Hillary Clinton did. Comey addressed that today, and the Clinton campaign's touting it.
His conduct, to me, illustrates the categories of behavior that mark the prosecutions that are actually brought. Clearly intentional conduct, knew what he was doing was a violation of the law. Huge amounts of information that even if you couldn't prove he knew it, it raises the inference that he did it. Right? An effort to obstruct justice. That combination of things makes it worthy of a prosecution.
And that's where he says he draws the line.
Yeah, he was, I think, equally damning of her behavior. He's given the Republicans tremendous amount of material, but he was equally strong on defending his decision not to prosecute. He said, in terms of a double standard, it would be a double standard if I did prosecute her. This is, there's no, he couldn't establish intent. He said Petraeus was different. So, on that ground, he was very firm.
I want to play one more soundbite, Charles, and that is this other investigation that we likely will now see, and that is her testimony on Capitol Hill and what she said under oath in the Benghazi hearing. Take a listen to this exchange. It was really good, and it was very compelling, but we don't have it right, currently. Basically, Jason Chaffetz saying that the FBI did not look at her statements under oath to Congress, and she said numerous times to Congress that there were no classified emails and nothing marked classified, and that they were going to refer this now to the FBI, which they did this afternoon.
Right, so now there's another potential investigation. I'm not sure it's going to come out any differently than this one did. I think Comey had a relatively good day. He looks like an honest guy. He didn't look like he was hiding anything. But he couldn't get over the logical problem of he laid out all the requirements for gross negligence, and then he says at the end that that requires criminal intent. That's nowhere in the statute. In fact, the statute says that you committed a felony either if it was intentional or if it was the result of gross negligence. Either or. You don't need intention. He never got over that, and my interpretation is he was looking for a way to avoid indicting her. That would have changed the course of American political history. She would have been out of the race. The entire campaign would have been unended. And to me, it's a bit like, and I've spoken about this before, Chief Justice Roberts, in deciding on Obamacare, he found the most tortured way to avoid overturning it, even though I think his investigation showed, or his analysis would have led you to overturn it, because he didn't want to intrude into American history overturning legislation so momentous. I think Comey did not want to be remembered as a guy who changed the course of American political history.
One of the things he didn't answer, Laura, was that about the Clinton Foundation.
Yep.
And whether there's an ongoing investigation there. He was pressed on it numerous times. He said he's not going to answer that. And he was not going to answer whether the foundation factored into this investigation. That's possibly another route as well.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, frankly, after, I disagree with Charles that he came across as, we had a good day. I think when you're FBI director and you laid out the predicates of a crime and then you choose to take the political route, I think it's just horrible. But on that question, I think we have to assume, because of what's happened, that some of those emails that were deleted could very well have touched on, at the very least touched on, dealings of the Clinton Foundation. I've always thought that this went back to the Clinton Foundation. I've always believed that the Clinton Foundation had a great deal to do with her desire to conceal her communications from congressional scrutiny or FOIA requests. And as you touched on earlier, obstruction of justice takes many forms. Obstruction of a congressional investigation, lying under oath before Congress, is obstruction, because she knew at the time, can't imagine she didn't, that she was telling an untruth about things like multiple devices and classified information. So I think if there's an honest justice system, she should be prosecuted at least under the congressional standard of obstruction of justice. And Charles is right. There's the intent requirement that Comey laid out is not the right one.
On balance, today, on the political sense, for Hillary Clinton, what does that mean?
I think that the real damage to her was done by Comey's statements 2 days ago. I think that was the real blow to Hillary Clinton. Did this make it worse? Not necessarily. I think it just kind of reinforced what he had already laid out. To say she was extremely careless, to say there was classified information in there, to say, that she should have known. Those are very damning. I don't know if we got anything further than that today, but I think this is a real political problem for her. And I'll tell you what would make Charles's thesis really come alive and would be incredibly damning. If there's a leak from one of Comey's, investigators, prosecutors, that there was some kind of dissent, that there were some people who wanted to prosecute her and he didn't or overruled them, then I think you've got a whole different story.
Last word.
The ultimate effect on her is she escaped the death penalty. But the damage to her is huge. It's one thing for Republicans to insist she's a liar. It's another to have what you just showed, the quotations, the words from the mouth of the director of the FBI of how many times she told untruths. That's ineradicable, and it's going to be all over the airwaves for the next 4 months.